So, first of all, thank you for joining us. This is a special meeting with you about Qatar East to West 90K race, what we have done 2 years ago. And you are the
2 days ago.
2 days ago.
2 days. Is it 2 years ago?
Okay. Lots made it 1 year ago, but we made it 2 days ago. And you are the boss of this race.
I'm one of
the best guys. So before we speak about this race, let's speak just a few words about you. Where are you from?
I'm from Egypt, actually. Yeah, from Egypt, and I've been living here in Qatar for the last 6 years. 6 years, yeah.
Can I ask you why did you come here?
Yeah, sure. Well, I was not gonna come here. Like I was I think 23 at that time, and my friend was convincing me to come here for 6 months, and I refused. And I wanted to kind of like stay in Egypt and try to build, my life there. But then, I was like, why can't I just take a chance and see how it's gonna go, right? Came here. I was an accountant before. Now I'm doing fitness coaching and race organizing. Yeah, so I was an accountant for 5 years. I started business. I did accounting for 5 years, and then 2017 I decided I don't want to do this anymore. I didn't like it, so I was in Qatar at this point. Decided to change to fitness coaching, and I started a few online courses. Switched to fitness coaching at the end of 2018. I've been doing this until now. It's 2020, end of 2021 now. Yeah, having fun with it. Yeah, I don't think I was a very good accountant. My previous employers would agree.
Yeah, okay. When did you start sport? What was the first sport? What you did?
Consistently, I've been doing sports for the last since 2016. This is the most like the period where I am now, but I did sports on and off before, just some gym, some lifting, stuff like that. But I was never into endurance sports. I always admired athletes. I admired, I would watch the Olympics. I would watch, athletics. I always had this admiration for them, but I didn't see myself doing endurance sports before. So on and off, a few months here and there. But then after I came here in 2015, I found a different lifestyle here in Doha. In Egypt, you kind of life is by default active, so you move a lot. The lifestyle forces you to move, so you didn't really pay attention to how much you're moving. And obviously, movement changes your mood. Movement changes your psychology. So the more you move, for me, the more you move, the happier you are, and because I'm moving there a lot, meeting someone, walking, doing different things, so I didn't feel the impact until I came here, and I was not moving as much. I didn't have many friends. I was kind of alone the first year, you know what I mean? And I decided maybe I should do some sports. It was really affecting my mood that I was not moving a lot. And running was the easiest thing, put your shoes on and run. I did that for a few months, and then I was not improving. I was kind of getting into it, my mind was getting into it, and I decided I need to get better. But I didn't know how to get better. I'm kind of doing the same thing every day, or 2-3 times a week, running the same distance, the same time. Nothing is changing. So I talked to some guy I was following on Facebook, and I saw him running long distance and stuff, and he told me there is this app you can go, and the app can give you a plan. I followed the plan, and this is when I started to get better, and that was beginning of 2016. And since then I've been into sports consistently. Yeah, since 2016.
Yeah, okay. How did this race come up for you? What was the reason that you started to work with this race?
Well, the idea, it was not my idea in the first place. That was 2017. I was still running, and I was part of started joining running clubs and stuff like that, which had a huge impact on me. In the beginning I was kind of running on my own, but then when I started joining running clubs, things started to change to the better. I started meeting people with similar mindset, having better conversations. It increased the quality of my life, and I made a few friends, obviously. So one day, it was a Friday morning, we finished our morning run, 5-10K run. We're having breakfast together, and one guy goes, his name is Abdu, and another Egyptian friend. So we're 4 of us are Egyptians. So Abdu was like, one of my colleagues told me that he did 90K run across Qatar, across the country, from east to the west. I said, this guy's crazy. Like, why would you have friends like that? And like I said, why is he doing it? And he said because he's training for an ultra distance in Europe. He's German. His name is Stephen Vogel. I think he must be like 64 now, 65. Yeah. He was training for a long ultra, multi-stage ultra in Europe, and he did the Qatar East-West just for fun, for training. He said, if I'm doing long runs anyway, he said I have like 12 hours today, so maybe it's a good idea to run across the country. I was like, okay, what do you want? And he said, like, I didn't know what ultra running meant at that point. Like, I kind of knew that we have 5, 10K, half marathon, full marathon, but I didn't know what ultra was. So he said, ultra is anything longer than a full marathon. And he said, do you think we can do it? Like, only the 4 of us. So it was me, Abdu, Abdu now he left to he's living in Canada at the moment. Hisham and Hamza, who are still in Qatar now, and they're organizing the race obviously with me. So he said, do you think we can do it? We can, maybe let's try and see if we can run the 90K. I said, yeah, it sounds crazy, but why not? We're running anyway. Let's do something fun. And then ideas started to develop, and we started to check the route, and obviously as you do that, every weekend you're out to check, which way you're gonna take.
Did you run the same route?
No, it was different. It was different routes before. Most of it was similar, like I would say, which 20% is different, but 80% is similar to what we're doing now. So obviously people we're telling people we're going to this place this weekend, and people started to get interested, and more people wanted to join us, right? And then eventually we said, if many people are joining us, it would be good to be organized and maybe have like some kind of Google sheet or something where people can sign up. Just give us their details so we can know how many people are interested. We found 50 people interested to do that. I was like, well, that's surprising. And obviously people wanted to do the whole thing. Some people wanted to do part of it. Some people wanted to do team.
In that time, it was not yet a race.
No, not at all. It was
just for fun.
Just for fun. But then when we found 50 people, we were like, maybe if we have 50 people, we cannot run, because they need somebody to take care of them. We need the stations, we need things like that. So we decided we're not going to run. We're going to support the people running. But because we were not a company, we couldn't get permissions or anything, and it was quite dangerous, to run on the highway. So we tried to. When we said we're not going to have permissions, so we cannot have ambulances, we cannot have police support, we cannot have any of that. So we told the guys, listen guys, we cannot have these things, but if you still want to run, we're happy to support you, and if you want to drop out, we understand. So 25 people dropped out, 25 people stayed, which was kind of good, because you know that the 25 people who stayed are the ones who actually want to do the race. They don't care about, if you don't have ambulance, if you don't have police, they just want to run because they love it, right? So then we still supported the guys. We said we're going to meet at the Corniche at 5 in the morning, and we're going to start from there. But obviously we're trying to avoid all the highways. We didn't want to be visible, right?
Yeah.
So we took a completely different route through Doha. Now we kind of run straight through Doha, right? In one line. No, the roads are closed, traffic lights are closed. But back then we were hiding, you know, so we took a completely different route, and then we had to run in the desert for like in the actual, you know, desert off-road for like 8 kilometers or something. And then in Doha as well, we avoided the highway. So I think it must have been like 95 kilometers. It wasn't exactly 90 that year.
Honestly, for me, that would be more interesting, much better.
Yeah,
than through the highway.
Through a highway.
Not because of the traffic or that could be dangerous, but for the feeling. When Lottie said that we will run through the desert,
yeah,
that would be a better race in the desert.
Yeah, I see.
On the highway.
Yeah, I mean, the desert definitely made it a lot more interesting, and we still want to organize an ultra in the desert, because we think in Qatar it's very possible to do something like that. Yeah, but I understand where you're coming from. You know, highway is just like it's long, boring road. It seems endless. You know, there is nothing to see. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I always thought, Lottie, that for me it's not so understandable that people just walking on the highway.
Yeah, because
you cannot see like this in Europe. That is not only dangerous, but you will be punished.
Oh.
Not allowed.
Not allowed. No,
not allowed.
Legally not allowed. Oh wow. Okay. Well, I think Qatar gives us some advantages.
Yeah, okay. How looks like the staff? I mean, how many bosses? How many staff? How many volunteers? How many official staff like policemen, ambulancemen?
This year, you mean?
Yeah, this year.
Well, I don't have the exact numbers, but yeah, approximately. Well, I think volunteers we had around this year. I think we had around 50 volunteers, which is less than last year. Last year we had around 80 volunteers. We had more road signs this year because we didn't want volunteers to be standing for long periods of time, right? Because closer to the finish line, you need people from 9 in the morning, and the race ends at 8. So we used more road signs. I think we have 90 road signs, around 50 volunteers. We had three ambulances, but we also had the support of the official ambulance in the country. So you can call 999 at any point, you know. And we had also the 3 ambulances. Police cars. I don't know how many police cars, but we had points on the road where we needed police cars, and these were about 20 to 25 points where we needed a police support. But they obviously changed from one place to another, you know. They cover the first part and then they move to the next part and so on. We had, I think, organization team. Our team is 4 from Qatar Ultra Runners team. We're 4 people who this is the core of the team. But then we have other guys who join us from race to another. You know, they come to the race day. You know, for execution, and that team is around 12 guys. They are the team leaders. You know, so for every station there is one leader. For course marshals there is one leader. You know. We also had the team from Ministry of Sports, from Qatar Sports for All Federation. And also the heads of the team were 4 guys, and they had also so many people with them. So there's a lot of manpower behind the race. Yeah.
Okay. This race, how many runners can handle? What is the maximum limit? What this race can allow to run?
Well, last year we had a maximum of, we limited the number to 450 people, but that was also COVID related, you know. This year we increased 200, so we had 650. We still had easily another 150 to 200 people in the waiting list who wanted to sign up, but they missed registration. Yeah. But from my point of view, I think we can easily accommodate more than 1,000 runners. Yeah, because obviously it's not that easy, and we still have to also count for that. But most of the work is done, whether you have 200 people or 600 people or 800 people. there is a certain amount of work that has to go into organization, regardless of the number. And this is the most of the work. And then depending on the numbers you have on the top of that, this is when you know, increase something here, you know, and most of it is going to be like food and water and volunteers and things like that. But I think the core of the work is done anyway, regardless of the number. Yeah.
Back to the office. How hard to work together with the official
organizers,
with the official staff, with the police department and with the ambulance department?
You mean how hard to organize things?
Organize and how easy they can do what this race wants, because a little bit different here, the highways, than in Europe.
Yeah.
Here we could count seven lanes on the highways, so the traffic is not so easy.
Yeah.
Stop the traffic. Stop the traffic is. I can imagine not so easy. How it's easy to organize this, the police.
Okay. So I think we can divide the race into three main parts. The first part is inside Doha, which is the east of the country. The western side, which is Dukhan, and then the middle of the country, which is between Doha and Dukhan. Okay. So I would say the first 15 kilometers. This is where you have so many traffic lights. This is when you have roundabouts, junctions and stuff like that. But it's also the easier to manage because this is where everybody's running almost together. So the first 15 kilometers are done within the first 2 hours. You know what I mean? So if you have so many police cars in the same place, blocking traffic lights, blocking everything, but then after 2 hours, everybody can leave to the next stage, right? And then the next,
because we are together, still.
Exactly, more or less. You know, the difference between the first and the second runner is not that big. You know what I mean?
Okay.
While at the end of the race, the first runner finished around 10:30 in the morning, and at 10:30 there is a guy who's still 15 kilometers behind. You know, so the gap is becoming a little bit bigger. So the second part of the race is the highway, and in the highway we choose the most busy intersections because you have exits and entrances and stuff like that. So part of it is also the runners being aware, because it doesn't matter what you do, you cannot block an entire highway for 10 hours, right? Because otherwise the whole country is going to be blocked. So you have so we have police cars at the busiest ones. We have volunteers at the other entrances and exits. And then the signs and everything, but still the runners need to be aware of the traffic. One thing that really helps us as organizers is the support cars, because we allow support cars to support the runners along the course, right? So support cars are behind the runners, so that kind of also makes it more or less safe to run. We ask people to run on the right lane of the highway, where it's the service lane, which is usually like cars normally here in Qatar don't use at all. You know,
on the highway that was extremely good.
Yeah,
because they could stop the traffic on the left side, on the right
side.
Yeah, that was very good.
Yeah, exactly, because you're not allowed to use the right side anyway. So even if you're running alone without any races, if you're running on the right side, you're 95% safe here in Qatar, right?
But these cars were extremely good.
Exactly, yeah. And then the third part, which is Dukhan. Dukhan, there is almost no traffic in Dukhan. I think we have only 3 points in Dukhan where we need the police cars, and I think the police cars cover them. 2 of them are on the highway, and the third one is as you're going to the highway after session number 5. So these are the most crucial parts of the race. And the police, I think, because also one good thing is the police, the traffic department send us the same people every year. You know, so exactly. So which is very smart, because these guys come, they know exactly what they do, they know where to be, how to move, how there is the format. So it becomes challenging when you have somebody new, because they don't quite understand. If you're not a runner and you don't, you know, even if you're a short distance runner, you don't know what 90 kilometers mean, right? So this time, one guy asked me after like 40 kilometers at the station, actually station number 2, which is 34 kilometers. He said, "Everybody arrived. Shall we leave now?" I said no. They arrived to the station, but they're still going to run. And he said, how are they going to go to Dukhan? I said, running. I said, he thought that we're gonna take them in buses or something and take them to Dukhan, because he didn't
Yeah.
he didn't quite understand how these guys are gonna go all the way to Dukhan, the finish line, right? And he was surprised. I had to actually explain to him that these guys are not going to take any cars. So they're going to keep running until the other side.
Okay,
Yeah.
that is the ground of my next question. Lotzi told me that last time was also just a few members who could finish the race.
Yeah.
Half of them, like now.
Yeah.
Like exactly like now. What is your experience? What is the problem with let me say 70 people? Why did not finish the race? What was the problem?
Okay.
No experience, not enough training, because of the weather.
Well, I think it can be many reasons from my point of view and from my experience with the race. I think the number one reason is underestimating the distance. That's number one. The number one reason. People saying, oh, I did a marathon
Right.
a marathon 10 years ago. I think
right.
yeah, I think I should be fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I asked people, like, what was your longest run? And he said, oh, I did a few marathons. And when was the last marathon you did? 5 years ago. I was like, you're a different person now, like it's not you,
I understand that.
Yeah. So that's one thing. Underestimating the distance. Number two, I think not allowing enough time for training, which comes from underestimating the distance, because for an ultra, and it obviously depends when you're starting from, to move to an ultra distance, but you need a few good months of training, to avoid injuries, to make sure that your body's well adapted to the distance. You're not gonna injure yourself during the race or even during training. So yeah, not allowing enough time for training, and then you move to lack of race management experience. You know what I mean? Because you can do the training, but I think most of the people where they fail is actually not fitness wise, but it's race management wise. Because running an ultra is completely different. Well, I haven't run an ultra before, but I've seen hundreds of people running ultras. Yeah. So running an ultra is different, because this is when nutrition becomes a big thing.
Yeah.
Hydration becomes a big thing. Not pushing yourself too fast too soon becomes a big thing.
Yeah.
Sticking to your zone.
Exactly.
Adapting to the changes that happen during the day, because you never know what's gonna happen. It can be very hot in the middle of the race, and if you push yourself too hard, in the middle of the day, then you're gonna burn out and you're gonna continue.
Yeah.
So I think how you manage the race itself is very important. I believe that somebody who's not 100% prepared but has good race management skills has more chances to finish than somebody who's very well trained but cannot handle or cannot manage the race. I think these are the three main things. I think mental game is important. After that comes the mental game, because you can do everything in training, but it doesn't matter if you haven't done 90 kilometers before. You obviously don't do 90 kilometers in training. You do. Some people go up to 50. Some people go up to 60 kilometers in training, but nobody goes to up to 90. And if you do it for the first time, then there's gonna be a point where you're gonna be at a distance that you have never seen before. If your longest run is 50, then you're at 70. You're 20 kilometers past your longest run, right?
Yeah.
Maybe your body can take it, but can your mind take it? How are you talking to yourself? What is your mental game like? And this part can make you or break you. You know what I mean? So I think these are the main reasons that people. Yeah.
Okay. And don't forget what do you wear? Because we saw many people with from bottom to
Top.
top
Yeah.
with black
Oh no, not in Qatar. Not in Qatar. Yeah, black. Yeah, definitely. That's another thing. Yeah. I saw one guy running with a backpack. You know, I'm not sure if you saw him, but he didn't have like a proper hydration pack on. He had like a travel backpack. You know, it was rocking up and down his back. Yeah, and I'm sure he has awful chafing on his back. Yeah, chafing.
What was the worst moment for you in this race?
This year?
Yeah, this year.
The worst moment actually was something that I've never seen, I've never experienced before in my life. Around 4 p.m. So there's a group called Baby Steps Marathon, okay? And it's a virtual running group. And these guys, he's a friend of mine who came up with the idea, and he has a few people starting running, and everybody's doing 1 kilometer every day, 2 kilometers, you know, and slowly increasing the distance. So he called me before the race and said, listen, our group wants to join, but we don't have 6 people who can finish the distance. So we're like 15 people. We cannot sign up officially, but can we come and support the runners, and just every one of us is going to do a few kilometers? I said, yeah, that's completely fine. We'd love that. So around 4 p.m. I got a call from one lady. She said, we have one emergency case here. One runner collapsed, and we've been doing CPR, and can you send an ambulance? So I called the ambulance, and then I sent them the location. The ambulance was immediately there. I was there like 4 or 5 minutes after. Later, the guy was on the ground, CPR, 2 ambulances, a few doctors doing CPR, and everything is not working. I didn't know what the story is. I don't know who he is. And then one of my friends, who was one of the doctors, so she came to me and she said, I think he's gone.
Who?
Yeah, the guy. Yeah, I think. Yeah. So the ambulance guys didn't say anything. They kept doing what they're doing, and they said we're going to take him to the hospital. There was a Cuban hospital at station number 5, very close to where he was at that point. They put him in the ambulance. They took him, but my friend said they don't want to say it now in front of everyone, but he's gone. Yeah. So he did. Yeah. He did. Yeah, I talked to the guys afterwards to know the story, and my friend told me he did only 1 kilometer, only 1 kilometer, and then he collapsed. And the official report now from Hamad is that he had a heart attack. Yeah, and after talking to his family, they said that he had some underlying health issues, blood pressure. And, it was his moment, you know what I mean? He was 41 years old. His wife and his daughter were there when it happened. It was by far one of the hardest moments, not in just the race, in my whole life, because it's something that I've never experienced before, and it just shows how quickly can things happen. You never expect to see something like that. Yeah.
Okay, what was the best moment?
Many good moments. Like really, like this race to me personally is not a race. It's for me, it's a life experience. You know, you don't realize the impact. Obviously, we started the race because we love running. We love to see people running, so we're just having fun with it. But we didn't realize the impact of such a challenge. You know. On people's life, starting from 25 people, unofficial race, running in the desert, hiding from the police in 2017, to becoming the biggest race in the country, in 650 people and 200 people waiting list, with new course record every time. Like the stories that we hear and we see. I was just telling you that I almost know everyone personally. I know their names, you know, mostly the individual runners too, because these are the ones who have the most stories, you know. To see people like you know, when you talk to someone, I see people quitting, you know what I mean, like after 80 kilometers, you know. I see people like getting injured. and then you see them again coming next year, and you know exactly what happened last year, and you were with them, and you know why they're here, and you see them crossing the finish line. I cry every year at the finish line. I don't usually cry, but every year at the finish line I cry because it's not just one guy crossing the finish line. You know, I know the story behind him. You know what I mean? So for me, this day is always. I always tell my friends, this day is like a dream for me, from the beginning to the end, from the start line to the end. I feel like my mind is I feel like I'm a different person. I feel like I'm in a different place, different planet. I don't sleep for 48 hours. Around the race. I can get maybe 1 hour or two during, before the race, but usually no sleep. But I still function 100%, and like it's just seeing all these moments, small moments put together. Like the whole race is a different experience for me. I don't think there is a best moment, but so many good moments.
Okay. Yeah. What did you learn from this race this year?
This year? I learned from this
an extra experience. What can you do better next time?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay, from this year specifically, I think I can say if you have an idea and people tell it seems crazy, right? And people tell you this is not worth it. This is not possible. This is not a great idea, but you think it genuinely excites you, it genuinely makes you, give you, some kind of energy, go after it 100%. Don't listen to anyone, go after it, be patient, push as hard as you can, because this single idea can change so many lives, Back in 2017, it was really hard, because we genuinely believed that this is a good idea, this can be something big, but no one was supporting this. No one. We asked companies, we went to companies asking them to not to give us money or to sponsor us, just to use the company name to get official permission to do the race. We don't want any money. You can take everything you want. We don't want anything, just that. So we can get an ambulance or a police support. No one cared about the race because no one could see what we were saying, right? But instead of giving up and saying it's not worth it, we said we're gonna do it anyway, and then show the world that this is real. This can be successful.
Yeah.
And when you succeed, it becomes very hard to ignore you. You know what I mean? So some of the people that we went to in 2017 to support came to us in 2018 asking if we're gonna do it again. And we accepted some of them, and we even accepted others. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter how crazy it seems. If you genuinely think it's a good idea, go after it. See, because I would rather live with the idea, with the thought that I tried and it didn't work, than I didn't try at all. You know what I mean? I hate to think, oh, I wish I could give it this shot. I don't know what would have happened, but go after it. 100%. Yeah, this is, and I'm saying that because now looking at the race this year and seeing all these people, all the smiles, all the the energy, it's not easy, but it's smooth, like you have the support, you have everything you need, and now it's people asking to be part of your race, not you going to everyone else, and so yeah, this is what I learned from this year.
Next plan, next ideas.
We have a few ideas actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I asked.
Okay. We don't usually talk about our next plans, but we're thinking about something similar to backyard ultra. Every hour on the hour, we do 5K, or like we're gonna adjust it to fit the market or the population here in Qatar. But we're thinking about, like, we're thinking of ideas that we can execute, that as many people as possible can join without being too much stress on everyone, So obviously 90K, that's a big thing. 50K, other race organizers are doing 50K trail run. So we're trying to come up with ideas to come up with something doable but challenging at the same time. So that's one of them. We actually on October 15th we organized another race that was a race against the clock. So we went to a farm in the north. We did 2-hour run on a 2.5k loop off-road, and the idea was to cover as much distance as possible in 2 hours. So that was a good one. We had team option and individual option as well. We had 250 people, and it was the first time to organize the race, so we had 250 people, which is a good turnout. The fastest guy is actually the guy who won the 90k this year, Mohsin, a Moroccan athlete, and he did 35 kilometers in 2 hours, which was crazy. Yeah, so these are the kind of ideas we're trying to come up with, but definitely during this season we're gonna have one more idea, and it's gonna come out very soon.
Okay, the last question. We have not we, but the ultra runner has a big database on the internet named DUV statistics, yeah. .de. That is a German company,
Okay.
who collect all the races and athletes on this database.
Okay.
And this race is not in this database.
Yeah.
Do you plan to organize this issue?
Well, that's now I will. I didn't know. I think you mentioned to me before. Is it the same? Is it the same company?
Yeah, the DUV.
DUV. Okay. So I think now it's time. Yeah. I think so.
Because if an ultra runner wants to find the race, only one thing: search on this site, and they can show you every
All the races.
All the races.
Okay. So I think this should be our next step, because next year our plan with the Ministry of Sport as well is to take the race to a more international level. So if we want to do that, we need to get international recognition, which we've seen over the last 2-3 years. We had people coming over to do the race from different countries, and what we like is our athletes who come here and see the race because they love the race. So when they do races in different countries, they tell people about the race here in Qatar, and they invite them to, just like the, what happened with you, right? Yeah. So exactly. So then if the race is successful, people would love to introduce the race to other people too.
Yeah.
So part of our plan is to become more international next year, and I think that would be a good chance as well to get international recognition.
Okay, good luck. So thank you very much for the interview, and I hope we will meet next year.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, that would be my pleasure. Yeah, 100%.
Thank you so much.
No problem.